This is Michael Whatley, and I am proud to be the chair of the Republican National Committee, and you are watching The Rebound with Coach Matt Doherty.
Welcome to The Rebound with Coach Matt Doherty.
Welcome to The Rebound. I am Matt Doherty, and I'll be your host. On this show, we explore remarkable rebound stories of resilience and recovery. We highlight the leadership qualities that emerge in the face of life's toughest challenges, revealing the strength and determination within individuals that inspire us all. With me today is someone that understands the inner workings of America's political system and our fight for freedom in our republic. Today's special guest is Michael Whatley. Michael serves as the chair of the Republican National Committee. He led the charge to get Donald Trump back in the White House. Need I say more? Michael, thank you for being on the show. Congratulations on your efforts in getting Donald Trump elected as the 47th president of the United States. Tell us about that journey.
Oh, I got to tell you, this this last January, this was not on my bingo card when the president called and said, hey, Rana's going to step down and we'd like you to come in as the chair of the RNC and work alongside Laura Trump. Obviously a huge honor, but going into it, 9 months out from the election, really, truly a moment of clarity of, oh my God, we got to get this done and we got to get this done right. And really exciting. It really is. We put together a program that was really designed on getting back to fundamentals, getting back to the basics of winning elections, focused on getting out the vote and protecting the ballot, raising the money to get that done, building a communications team, a digital team, a data team, all of them focused on those fundamentals. Was what it's going to take. And we knew that if we were to get Donald Trump in a position in those battleground states to carry the day, that was going to carry the Senate, that was going to carry the House. And so we were able to kind of really, truly look ticket wide up and down about how we're going to make sure that we weren't a lonely victor, that we were going to be able to carry the Republicans across the line up and down the ticket.
Biggest challenge, not for you. I mean, it was big enough you get inserted in January for an election that's in November. But the biggest challenge for the party, what was the biggest challenge to overcome for Donald Trump to win the presidential election?
I think a lot of it has to come down to, did they have faith in the system? That out of 2020, there were a lot of people who were disillusioned, who really thought that there was so much cheating, that it was going to be very hard for Donald Trump to be able to overcome the bias in the media, overcome the fact that he was being persecuted all across the country, civil court, criminal court, both him and his allies were being hounded. The weaponization of the judicial system really, truly made it a much bigger hill to climb than a normal candidate would. And so, what we did was focused on our building blocks, building a get out the vote operation that was going to allow us to target low propensity voters, make sure that we took our activists and really truly got them involved in recruiting and bringing in other voters and getting them to commit, and then building out the first ever national election integrity program so that, one, we were going to be able to be in position to ensure that what happened in 2020 never happened again. But the second part of that is that we had to instill confidence in our voters, because if we had 1% or 2% of our voters in North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, anywhere say, you know what, they're going to cheat, my vote's going to get canceled, I'm not going to show up, that would have been absolutely fatal. So we needed everybody to understand Donald Trump can win this thing, the Republicans can win this thing, but only if you get out and you vote. That's why we were so excited about the record turnout that we were able to generate in all these battleground states, and keep everybody on side.
How could you ensure that there was not going to be voter fraud this time around?
Well, the biggest thing, we had a 3-part plan, right? And the first part, and this was all modeled on the program that we built in North Carolina for the 2020 election cycle. And that's one of the main reasons President Trump asked me to step up and run the national party in March, was that 3 parts, right? So number one, we wanted to make sure that we had the right rules of the road in place before voting started. So we worked with state legislators, we worked with boards of elections, we worked with secretaries of state to make sure that we had basic principles in place. Only American citizens can vote. you need to have voter ID. States need to clean up their voter roll. And for states that, like North Carolina, that allow mail-in balloting, you've got to have basic protections in place on those mail-in ballots. And so signature requirements, witness requirements, the fact that they need to be in by election day, things like that. And when we put that program together, a lot of states like North Carolina stood up and said, yeah, we will implement these rules changes. And where they didn't, we went to court. We ended up filing over 150 lawsuits all around the country to make sure that we were going to have the right rules of the road in place before elections started. Number two, you've got to be in the room, right? We wanted to set up a program where we had thousands of attorneys across the country, hundreds of them in every battleground state, thousands of observers that we were recruiting and training. 230,000 observers around the country came in through the program that Laura Trump and I built, our Protect the Vote tour, and were trained, and we were able to deploy them in the room anytime a vote is being cast or a vote is being counted. And then third, we needed to tell everybody about it. We needed a communications program so that everybody knew we were there. They knew we were coming. They knew that they weren't going to be able to cheat, and they knew that we were going to have trust in our system. It was very important for the Republicans because we needed to get them out to vote. But it was also very important on the other side. Anybody contemplated cheating, we're going to find you. We're going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. It's not a free cheat anymore. And so that was really an important component for it. And over the course of the 9 months that Laura and I were in place, we were very excited because we got that program up and running to the point. We said we were going to recruit 100,000 volunteers. 230,000 individuals across the country signed up and went through the training programs, and we were able to deploy them.
What state were you worried most about?
I was worried about every state, to be honest with you. I think that, we have states like Florida and Texas and some of the other southern states that had very good laws, that had good enforcement. A state like Ohio, where we had, a Secretary of State who was very plugged in with everything that we were doing. So we felt great about those states. But then we also had states like Georgia, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, where we needed to make significant improvements in the law. And then we had other states that are Democratic states where we just had to go to court and bang the drum and pound and pound and pound. Pennsylvania and Michigan, for example, where we had Democrat Supreme Courts ruling in our favor because what we were trying to do is get the states to enforce the law. So, really, truly, when we lived in our 7 battleground states, that was the focus of it. But there's not a state in the country that I don't worry about that didn't keep us awake all the way through Election Day.
Why are there such diverse rules amongst the different states, and why can't we get a unified set of rules?
Well, the Constitution doesn't want us to. The Constitution is very clear that the time, place, and manner of elections will be set by the states, and we certainly understand that and agree with that as a principle of federalism. But the federal government does have some basic rules that need to be followed. For example, there's a federal law that says only American citizens can vote in federal elections, but it's up to the states to be able to enforce that. The national government sets Election Day, as the first Tuesday in November. And so every state has to do that, but states can do early voting, states can do mail-in balloting, and it's all up to the states as to how they do that. So there's a conversation that I think we're going to have going forward about should we have some more national guidelines, right, that are going to be there, because the basic principles that I believe we need to put in place, voter ID, only American citizens can voting, the fact that the states have got to clean up their voter roll. The federal government is in a position to have guidelines that tell the states that they have to do that. And I think that's a conversation that President Trump is very interested in initiating once he's in office.
You get picked to be the chairman in January. There's this rush, and there's the deadline of November. What's that like? Like I equate everything to coaching basketball. That's my background. You grew up in North Carolina, Watauga County, I believe, and understand sports are pretty important in this state. It's like you're making this run to the end of the season. What was that like for you and your family? And then secondly, When you knew Trump was going to win, what was that celebration like?
Well, what I'll say is, in terms of kind of setting up the RNC and making sure that we had all of these programs in place and these peoples in place, it's a really big endeavor. I mean, we had over 400, 500 different people on the ground in all of the various battleground states around the country. And so it really was a matter of giving them a mission that was very clear in scope: get out the vote, protect the ballot, and be there every day. And that worked out really well. We had an amazing top line structure with Susie Wiles, who was overall the campaign, Chris Lasavita, who was the campaign manager, as well as my chief of staff, and myself, as really kind of setting up the top tier to have those programs and make sure we were implementing everything out there. Laura Trump could not have been a better partner as the co-chair of the RNC. And having her on board really, truly helped us in terms of messaging and communications around the country. So, as we knew, Suzanne and I had the conversation about it. You can do anything for 8 months was kind of what she said. But you kind of do enter a maelstrom, really. And so, a lot of time in Washington, a lot of time in Florida, but most of the time really traveling around the country and being in all those battleground states over and over and over again to make sure that we had the programs in place, the people in place to hit the notes that we needed to hit, and working on the media all the time. When we knew on election night that Donald Trump was going to be the winner, it kind of evolved obviously over the course of the night, and everybody gets to watch it on TV. But we saw the metrics out, right? And when I was talking to him, on the plane, the week before the election, and I said, look, we're going to win absentee votes. We're going to win early votes in places like Nevada and Arizona and Georgia and North Carolina, where we've never done that before. And we're going to cut dramatically into the leads that the Democrats have before. That set us up to have a really good election day. And I cautioned everybody, we need to win election day, obviously, but that's what Republicans do. And Donald Trump is a closer. That man is the best closer in politics.
ABC, always be closing.
Absolutely.
All right, Mike, let's go to break. And when we come back, Michael is going to discuss the rebound of America. OMJ Clothing is an elite men's clothing store that provides a vast array of spectacular brands of men's lifestyle apparel for every day. Elevate your business upscale casual at OMJ. Success comes from standing out. The Rebound is sponsored by Sector Spider ETFs, a unique family of exchange-traded funds that divide the S&P 500 into 11 sector index funds. You can buy just the sectors you like or customize the S&P 500 by weighting the 11 sectors to meet your financial objective. Please visit them on the web at sectorspiders.com. That's sector, SPDRS.com.
Alps Portfolio Solutions Distributor, a registered broker-dealer, is the distributor for the Select Sector Spider Trust.
Michael, you just told us at break that Donald Trump asked you to stay on as chairman of the Republican National Party. How's that feel?
It's an honor. I think it really gives us an opportunity to kind of go into 26 election cycle and be really, really focused on the fundamentals again. But look, we need to hold the House. We need to hold the Senate. We need to make sure that Congress is there to enact President Trump's agenda. We're excited that he has attacked, the cabinet selection process with the same enthusiasm and intensity that he did the election cycle. He's named his senior White House staff already. But look, people are policy, and he ran on a very specific agenda. He said since he came down the escalator 9 years ago, he's going to make America great again by doing 4 things. He's going to restore our southern border, rebuild our economy. He's going to ensure that our communities are safe, and he's going to ensure that we are strong enough as a country to protect our interests and our allies at home and abroad. And so that has never changed. That has always been the vision. While he was president for 4 years, that's exactly what he did. He campaigned on it this time around. And when you look at the personnel that he has appointed, these are the people you can see that they are all very specifically set for that mission. And so, from all of his different appointees, we're very excited about it. My role at the RNC is to make sure that we get those nominees through, to make sure that Congress is in a position to implement that agenda. And then we got to focus on the 26 election cycle and make sure that we're going to protect that House majority and expand it. We got to make sure that we get Tom Tillis reelected, and we've got to expand in the Senate. Because if we lose a majority in either House or Senate, that is really going to be harmful for the president's agenda. And we've only got one term. We know it. And we're very excited about getting everything done that we need to get done and setting this country up, not just for the next 4 years, but for the next several decades to be the leader of the free world.
Michael, this is all about leadership, this show, and rebounding. And I'm passionate about the leadership space as an executive coach and keynote talks. And, I've failed as a leader, and so I've studied it. And I am amazed at a couple of things. One, the fundamental stuff you talk about, 4 keys: border, economy, safety, allies, and the messaging. It's consistent. It's concise. It's clear. It's stimulating, right? It motivated people to go out and vote. One of the most important gifts that a leader can have is energy and optimism. And Donald Trump has that in spades, in spite of getting shot at twice, in spite of being slammed by the DA in New York City and other cities, being the FBI, the DOJ being weaponized against him. Where does that passion and energy come from?
I think it comes from his love of this country. He had an amazing business career. He has an absolutely fantastic family. This is a man who has an awesome life and did not need this job. But he believes in America and he wants America to succeed. When you talk about the enthusiasm, you talk about the energy. I can never forget there was a day we left Palm Beach at 6:30 in the morning and flew to Phoenix to do a rally. And after that rally, we flew up to San Francisco. We had an hour and a half drive to an event. We did the event. We drove an hour and a half back to the plane, and we were flying down to Los Angeles. It's 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 a.m. Eastern time. We've been on a flight since 6 a.m. Eastern time. And he looked over at me and he said, "Hey, Michael, this is pretty cool, isn't it?" And I was like, yes, this is really cool. The enthusiasm that he brings to it, not just inspired everybody that was around him, but the entirety of the Republican Party. I think that they see it. They understand the urgency that he's coming to. You talk about a rebound. America needs a rebound right now, because when we talk about our southern border, we talk about our economy, we talk about where we stand in the world and our community, safety. All of them took a hit under Joe Biden. And it is going to take a lot of effort to kind of really get this country out of the ditch and back on track. And that's what Donald Trump is fully committed to. And we're already seeing that things are happening. We've got record high stock markets, every day now since he won. We've seen migrant caravans in Mexico turn around and go home. We've seen Hezbollah and Hamas already suing for peace, and Russia and Ukraine are trying to get to the table to settle their differences with Donald Trump. We're going to rebuild this border. We're going to restore the economy. We're going to make sure that America is very, very strong. Everybody wants to be a part of that. America needs to rebound, and that's why they made such a seismic shift. We saw record movement among Black voters, Hispanic voters, Asian American voters towards Donald Trump. He got a much better percentage among women than was expected or he's done in the past. The young vote came out for Donald J. Trump. These are groups that have not traditionally been Republicans, but they want America to succeed, and they know that Donald Trump is the pathway for American success.
So I've got a lot of questions I want to ask. I'm going to ask a little pivot here. If I'm watching this show and I've got to speak on behalf of the audience, I'm thinking, what is it like sitting on Trump Airways, Trump's plane next to him, zigzagging across the country. What is that plane like? What's it like sitting next to him? What is he eating? What is he doing? Was he writing? Is he, what's the day in the life of a Donald Trump and a Michael Whatley like?
Well, the man works 24/7. And I think, when he sits on the plane, he's got his staff around him, his core staff that's there. The amount of work that gets done on those flights is absolutely staggering. And it really is neat to be a part of that, to be a part of those conversations. Things happen very fast in a campaign, and you're able to, with the right team around you, be able to put things in play in real time, unlike anything that I've ever seen before. Probably the most fun is, what are the meals going to be? Generally, it's McDonald's, but sometimes it's a pizza, sometimes it's something else. But it is absolutely a great opportunity to see how the man works. And when you go down to Mar-a-Lago and you see him in his office, he is always on the phone. He has always got people around him. He is talking about ideas, and every single one of the conversations is, how do we make it better? How do we improve the economy? How do we restore the border? What is this going to look like? And he really does listen to input from a lot of people, and the decision-making process is fascinating to watch. But once he makes a decision, that team around him is remarkably adept at putting it in play, and we go, and you can see those impacts right away.
All right, Michael, someone we've had on the show twice in the last several months is Kash Patel, and he's nominated for FBI director. There's a lot of pushback coming from the left in legacy media. What say you about Kash Patel?
Kash Patel is a perfect choice for the FBI. He is absolutely the right guy. You're talking about a guy who's been a public defender. He's been a prosecutor. He's been a congressional staffer. He's been an investigator. He understands the FBI inside and out, and he is not afraid to go in and reform an agency that is desperately in need of reform. You pair him up with Pam Bondi as the Attorney General. I think we've got an absolutely fantastic tandem that will be focused on making sure that our communities are going to be safe, and that our judicial system will never be weaponized again like it has been over the last 8 years, where the DOJ and the FBI conspired with the White House to go after Donald Trump. It was illegal, it was immoral, and it can never happen again. Very glad to see that these suits are falling one by one, but the weaponization of the judicial system is truly an affront to everything that America stands for. Kash Patel will be able to get to the bottom of everything that took place. And if there is accountability that needs to be brought, he will do it. And he will also refocus the FBI on what it should be doing, which is making our communities safe and making sure that we are going to have justice across America.
Michael, thank you for joining us today and sharing your insights on how America is going to rebound.
Yes, sir, Matt. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Leadership is a learned behavior. We all lead in some way, shape, or form. We all deal with adversity. And when you do, I challenge you to rebound. I challenge you to learn and grow. If you would like to contact me, you can reach me at dohertycoaching.com. That's DOHERTY.com. Thanks for tuning in.